Welcome you to Porch Talk. This is your host, Alan. It's a Zoom call down to the Gulf Coast, down in Alabama. I've got the Alabama astronaut himself, Abe Partridge. Man, how you doing?
Good, Alan. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, man. How's Love in the Dark going?
It's going very well. I've been touring it like a madman.
That's what I've been seeing, brother. You've been it almost reminds me of when we met. I think you probably would have been this far further in your career if not for COVID. And so it's just good to see you getting back to where I think you should be.
Yeah, yeah. It was a big lull, but yeah, things are popping. You know. Yeah.
What what's the next show? What you got cooking next?
I'm flying out to California tomorrow. Got playing a couple dates with Willie T. Taylor. And I thought, well, if I'm playing one show with Willie T. And then I got a festival out there that he books called Sheether Fest, and it's in I think it's called Mariposa, California. And then I got or Knights Ferry, California. Then I got an art exhibition out there as well.
Very cool. Who's
Yeah,
Willie? How'd y'all get hooked up?
Willie T. Taylor is a great songwriter. Out of I think he's originally from California. I think he currently is in Nashville, but he was on the road with Willie Carlisle, and I opened a show for him and Willie Carlisle up in Morgantown, West Virginia. I don't know, maybe February or something. It was cold. I remember that. So yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was in the winter time because it was a blizzard the next day. But I opened there for him, and then for him and Willie Carlisle, and then we just become friends, man. And then we played a festival in Kentucky together back in June, and so yeah, we just been keeping in touch ever since.
Right on, man. How was 30A this year?
Oh, it was awesome, dude. I think I played 7 shows, 7 or 8 shows in 3 days.
Yeah, mercy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was great. Yeah, I had a really wonderful time, man. Uh, my manager is the one that books that, so
Yeah,
I had a
works
bunch of
out pretty
shows.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I wanted to ask you, what's the Coots been up to?
Oh, they're working. Cody's is Cody's got a really time consuming job, uh and raising their children, going to church, doing well.
Right on, man. What about the album? Has it caught any kind of reviews? Has it caught anybody ears? Do you know?
I mean, we haven't really been sending it out for reviews or anything. I mean, it's definitely sold. We had back in June, we had the we had them play at the Laurel Cove Music Festival, and it was the first time outside the church that their music had ever been performed. So it was the first public performance of serpent handling gospel music ever that I'm aware of. And they came and they played. We sold, I think it was 250 tickets, and it sold out.
Whoa.
And yeah, it was amazing. I played guitar and Cody played guitar, and then he and Cassie sang, and they got like a standing ovation at the end. It was so good. And then they got to stand out there and they sold, I don't even know how many CDs, they sold that day, and signed them, autographed them. It was really cool, man.
Was Sean Byrne there for that event?
Oh, he wasn't. That was just it was so it, what it was is there was the Laurel Cove Music Festival, but they had an additional Sunday morning thing that they sold additional. So it wasn't. general. You couldn't just get the general admission ticket to the festival and get. You had to get another like Sunday morning ticket to go to see that. It was really
Gotcha.
cool.
I've had a buddy of mine, Eric Woods, down in Hattiesburg. He wanted me to ask. I'm kind of curious about it as well. Of now that the Alabama Astronaut podcast is out, that's finished, and how's the book? Is it finished now too,
Yeah, I got the book. Yep, book came
brother?
out. The book finally came in maybe a month ago. So
Yeah, I got to get me a copy
yeah.
of that. But now that you've had time to sit back and digest, has that had any impact on your creativity and the way that you pursue your art?
Yeah, I mean it's been influential for sure. Uh just being back, that whole journey. And of course I still attend I still attend the churches, and I'm still recording their music. And I'm still actively making season 2 of a podcast. So I mean, life I write about life and things that I experience. So in that way, yeah, it's absolutely been influential.
Yeah, I got you. I was reading a couple of reviews today, and I was just kind of curious to see what not that it matters, but what those review types are saying. And I couldn't help but agree with some of the review was sly and subtle. Abe will make you think. And I was thinking some of the shows I've been to of yours in the past, and I was like, even when it comes down to the gas station attendant, and her name just kind of striking your attention, or whether it's your 403rd freak out, it's always something that kind of cuts right through that really makes you think. Of how long does it take you to develop those ideas?
What you're reading reviews for the podcast or what? Reviews for what?
I think for Love in the Dark.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, so you're in reference to my songs.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, some songs come out fast and some songs come out real slow over a long period of time. And it's almost like I don't even have control over it, buddy. I don't know. It just if I could figure it out, then I think I would be much happier. But the never ending pursuit, I mean, this has been a pursuit of mine for years, is how to write a song. I still ain't got it figured out yet, but sometimes they just fall into place. But I mean, most of what I attempt to write isn't any good. And
I
so
feel that, man.
it never makes it to your ears. It gets it gets thrown out in the editorial process. So uh
Yeah. Man,
yeah,
one thing I
some
was thinking about. Oh, go ahead, Abe. I'm sorry.
oh no, no, I was just gonna say that yeah, a lot of um it's not like every song I write is good for sure. And it definitely most of the songs I write don't ever make it to get recorded.
Yeah. What man, I recently judged a singer-songwriter contest up here, and I was going
Oh,
through
cool.
some of the people who were going to be competing, and I was one of three judges, and just going by and listening through all these artists, I had already had in mind, like in my mind, she was just leaps and bounds, just above everybody. I had seen some videos of her stage presence and the quality of her work, and I was like, this it's gonna be pale in comparison. Uh, but she didn't bring it that night, and there was a first, second, and third place, and she failed the place. And man, I think back to some of the shows that I've seen you perform at, and even like with Drew Blackwell and Courtney, uh, and I think even Sean Byrne was there that night that you won the singer songwriter contest down there on the coast. And I was thinking about those moments. It was like sometimes just people come out of nowhere and just really surprise you. And man, how did you like your first time stepping out in public to share your songs? Uh, how much time was like spent in the living room, or preparing that this is what an Abe Partridge performance is this is what it is. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, I think maybe what maybe in the early days, I didn't think about it at all, but I had been a preacher for 9 years.
Right.
So I kind of had a I kind of had a familiarity with getting up in front of people and even singing, like back whenever I was in the church, I didn't sing my own songs. I mean, occasionally I would write a gospel number and sing it. Uh, but it was mostly just to lead a congregation to sing or something. So I was familiar with getting up in front of people and, putting myself out there, but I had never, I mean, particularly in reference to that first songwriter shootout I did, that was the first time I'd ever played songs that were not religious in nature in front of people for a listening audience. I had done a couple of open mics before that, but nobody was listening. And but I tell you what, I had never been to a songwriter event, you know. I didn't know how you were supposed to do it. So I just did what I did, and it happened to work. Um, but in another world, it might not have worked. I don't, I don't know, buddy. You know, I had a song. I had some songs. They were on my heart, and I got up and I shared them with folks. And I'm glad that I had never gone to a songwriter event before. Had I gone to a songwriter event before, I probably wouldn't have ever had the gall to go do that. In fact, that night I almost left because I was the 10th performer out of 10.
Yeah, and you had to sit through the gauntlet.
I had to sit through and I saw what everybody else was doing and I saw how good they were. And I also knew that what I did was not that, you know, and it was scary, it was very scary. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Man, when it comes to your approach to the guitar, I've been sitting down and picking through and trying to you got me to get a banjo because
Oh,
that's one.
good.
Yeah, that's one thing that like I was going through and like learning how to play your songs, and I was that the whole approach to it, I was like, this is like a banjo, like the way that you are with your picking hand and the approach to it. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, let me get a banjo and let me figure that thing out, and then I can come back to it and kind of have that approach. And many people that I've been listening to, it kind of struck me like, I mean, some of the blues players here in Mississippi, the old cats, they kind of have that approach with the thumb. Really laying down the rhythm, and then the melody being done by the fingers, and
Yeah.
it always struck me. And so I know you were into rock and roll for a time before throwing all those CDs away to go pursue theology. But
Yeah.
why a banjo? Was it just because you were in Appalachia?
Well, I didn't. So I grew up listening to rock and roll music, but I did have to get rid of it whenever I was 18, started going off to Bible school. I took all my CDs down to a pawn shop here in Mobile and sold them all. And then it was a few months. Was it a few months? Maybe it was, yeah, it was probably months, probably about 10 months later or something. I went to the first Bible school in Pensacola for one semester and they about kicked me out. So I had to go to a different one, and it was in Chattanooga. Well, when I was in Chattanooga, there was actually a guy in the dorms that was from North Carolina that played a banjo sometimes, and I took to liking the sound of it, you know. So I went and purchased, and then in the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church, which is where I found myself back in those days, you could play bluegrass style music. There were banjos in the church, is what I'm saying. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll go get one and figure out how to play it because I really like the sound of it, you know. And so I bought a book called I think it was called Teach Yourself to Play the Five String Banjo. It was written by Earl Scruggs.
I got the same book.
And then yeah, well, I bought that book and I bought a banjo. It was called Lotus, if I'm not mistaken. It was some Korean cheap. I still remember it was $80. That's what I paid for the thing. And I was so ignorant of how to pick that when you're playing bluegrass you put picks on your two fingers and then your thumb.
Mhm.
I had put them on the upside down backwards to where it was like a claw, to where because the picks have a curl to them. Well, I put them on backwards because in my brain that's the way that it was supposed to be, and I could not figure out why I wasn't able to pick because my picks kept falling off because they would hang on the strings. But eventually I figured out how to play the banjo. And so that was that I would go to school and I would come back, in the afternoon, and I would sit on this couch and I would pick banjo until I fell asleep sometimes. And I'd wake up with a banjo in my lap. And that's how I learned. And then I really wasn't cut out for that at college either. And I had a lot of like I was also it was I was 18 years old. It was the first time out of my parents' house, and um there I was, and I grew up in public school system, and I was I was just a lost young man, dude. I just couldn't fit into the structure. Well, I was really discontent at this school, and I think they were discontent with me as well. So I went home for the summer, and the next school semester, I went up to another college up in Knoxville, even further up. Sorry about that. Even further up into East Tennessee. Let me put this thing on silent.
Right.
And um, so it was even further up into East Tennessee. Well, when I got there, I could barely play the banjo. I mean, I was playing tapes of Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, and I was trying to pick along to them. But then there was this music store in a place called Powell, Tennessee, which happened to be about 3 or 4 miles from where the college dormitory was, where I was staying. And I found out that they would have pickings there, you know, and this place was made out of like the music store was made out of like press board. I think the ceilings were about 7 foot high. You had to like bend down to get into the place, and it was just real. It was a music store called Ciderville Music Store. It's still there to this day. And they would sell Martin guitars and Gibson banjos and dobros and mandolins. And I mean, it was a place where a lot of old time and bluegrass musicians would congregate. And the guy who owned the store was a guy who was a kind of a renowned banjo player. Well, I would go there, and I would just sit around on the edge of the circle of, and then that's when I finally got it started, like figuring out rhythms and stuff, you know. because it's hard when you're reading what they call tablature in a book. The rhythm is that it doesn't give you rhythm,
It's
and you don't.
non-existent. Yeah.
Yeah, you're. And then I was like, then it started clicking with me, you know. And so once it started clicking, well, then I really fell in love with the banjo, and I quickly realized I was never going to be Earl Scruggs, and so then I went into old time picking, which is with no picks, finger picking without picks, and also claw hammer picking for what they call frailing. And I did that, and I primarily just picked around with guys I went to school with, Bible school with, and there was a fiddle player there at the school. Me and her would work up stuff. And matter of fact, the night I met my wife Kathy, I was sitting up on the porch playing banjo with that fiddle player. And anyway, what were oh, I was man, I'm sorry for the tangent there.
Oh, you're good,
So
man.
then I bought a guitar. Well, I didn't buy a guitar. My mother's husband at the time had a guitar, and his name was Mike Ballou, and he guitar that it was an old Yamaha guitar that he had since the '60s. And I had tried to play it when I was a teenager, when I was into the rock and roll, but I didn't make no sense. And it was acoustic, and I would play something and it didn't sound like the records, that I was listening to because I was listening to Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that. That acoustic that was like the furthest thing from acoustic guitars you could get. Well, I went back and got that old '60s Yamaha, and then I started playing bluegrass with it. But I didn't have no teacher, and I had learned all these different things with my right hand, for banjo picking, and so I just did it. And then when I started writing, you know, just made sense. And so yeah, I mean, I started out playing banjo, and so that's why, yeah, I use a lot of the banjo rolls that I like. Oh, the old bluegrass rolls, I'll use
Hmm.
them while I'm picking the guitar, especially the one I think Earl Scruggs called it the in and out roll. Is that what he called it?
That sounds
Or
right.
maybe there, I can't remember if it was in the Earl Scruggs book or maybe it was in another book that I had back in the day, but they call it the in and out roll, and I use that all the time in my own guitar playing now. But it's really just the banjo roll.
I got you. Well, man, a little bit about today. Some of the shows I know your recent show at Callahan's for your birthday, you had the Purdy's with you. How did that
Yeah.
come? How did that come to be playing with those folks?
Well, Amanda. So I've been playing with her, I guess, the longest of those three. She was actually teaching my wife to play the fiddle, and well, I guess we met Amanda because hmm, I don't remember when we met Amanda. She's an active musician down here, but at some point we met. I think she was playing with my friend Laurie Ann Armour.
That would make sense. Yep, same
Yeah,
vein there.
yeah, she was playing with my friend Laurie Ann. I know for a while. But anyway, Kathy decided that she wanted some fiddle lessons. And so Amanda was coming over. And then, I got to realizing what a special musician she was. And so I would get her to come play shows with me here and there. And so she's been playing with me on and off for uh, about a couple years, maybe,
Hmm.
but not really steady or anything because I've not been in a position where I could totally afford to to I couldn't really afford to bring somebody along permanently. But then she went to win me the 30A. I mean, she was on mountain stage with me back a year and a half ago. She did that with me. She did Wood Song's Old Time Radio Hour with me. but she's also, I mean, she's an absolutely phenomenal singer songwriter herself. You know, she has her own bluegrass band and everything. So she's does her own thing as well. And then Katrina's her sister and plays upright bass with us, and she is a special person, and she's always brings the spirit. And then Austin Harper is who's been playing the pedal steel with me. I met him a few years back. He was playing with a friend of mine named Hunter Blaylock, who's a singer songwriter out of Northwest Georgia. And Hunter is a friend, and we've done some shows where they opened for me. Well, then I played a show in Rome. It was a year ago. 1 year ago, I played a show in Rome, and the people said, "Hey, you know, Austin Harper wants to play pedal steel with you." And I was like, "Well, let's do it," you know. And so we showed up. He killed it. And I tried to take him on the road that very weekend, but I think I scared him off. But then a few months later, you know, I got him, and I guess about 8 months or something now. He's been playing with me pretty good. You know, I mean, we went all the way up to Chicago and back. We've been doing a lot of touring together, and finally booked some full band shows and Abe Partridge and the Purdy's, you know, where it's all four of us together, and that's been so much fun, buddy.
Yeah, great sound too. I was watching some of those videos that you had posted over the past couple of days, and I was like, it's always it's a lot of fun when you got a full band and you can really get that full sound. Um,
Yeah, it is. It is so much fun, and also traveling. They're good folk to travel with, man. They make the traveling a lot easier. If it's a fun crew. We enjoy being with each other, so that's good.
Man, how much trouble is John Hall gonna be in a couple years?
What do you mean by that?
I see your youngest boy. He's taking a liking to the
Oh,
drums.
yeah. I told John, I was like, Psych Peas might just have to be one of them rock and roll bands with two drummers. John Hall ain't got to worry about his place in the Psych Peas ever. That boy, there ain't no replacing John Hall. But yeah, Wyatt, he's coming along, man. John gave him those drums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw
Yeah.
Kelly had shared that, and I was like, man, that was a blessing to see him getting into that. That's a lot
We
of fun.
play every
And I
day.
saw y'all doing that Sonic Youth, and I was like, I bet that tickles your heart with that. You know, I know you're a Sonic
Oh
Youth
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I like to throw the weird stuff at him, and he picks it right up. He's got rhythm in his blood. So you know, I don't think you can really learn rhythm. I think you can learn how to play music, but I don't think you can learn rhythm. Some people, you know, I've said that to some people and they disagree with me, and I'm not about to die on that hill, but I don't. I think if you can't snap your fingers to a beat, I don't know that you could ever learn how to do that. You know, I think some people just born with it and some people ain't. Because I was born with it. You know, I never had to learn how to clap in time. But some people can't do that, you know.
Yeah, I've been to church. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you can a child. Maybe a child could possibly learn. But man, once you get some age on you, stuff like that, I don't.
It seems that way, man. It seems like a lot of people will say like, some languages after that ear has gotten so old, like some of the Asian languages, like you can Katie bar the door, you ain't never gonna get there. And it would
Yeah.
make sense to me with something like rhythm. If you ain't never exercised that muscle, it would be something the older you get, the harder it is to get the training.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've seen some people, like their 40s, 50s, and get to a retirement age, and all they ever wanted to do was learn how to play the piano. And I mean, sometimes it works out, but I would argue they probably, like you said, they probably had it all along. They just never practiced.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, just that, like, you know, hearing it, you know. and Wyatt's got it, man. So that makes me proud. Uh, he he's got that. He just got the feel. He don't know how to play the feels. It's, he don't know how to play the FILLs. You know, but he's got the FEELs to know where they go.
Hmm.
And it's just a matter of him, eventually learning how to do the FILLs. You know, he'll do it. We'll get him there. But right now we just kind of letting him FEEL
Hey,
it.
there you go. Got to start
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
Well, man, you brought it up, traveling around with the Purdy's, and I know that it does have to be a lot easier. And like s- as much on the road as you are, I mean, having someone to be on the road with you, it's got to make it a lot easier. What do you do to pass the time when you by yourself? Is it music? Is it podcasting, books? What do you do?
Well, when I'm driving, I go back and forth between things. Sometimes I like just complete silence, and when I'm trying to think about stuff, and sometimes it's podcasts. Podcasts happen to be very difficult to find. When you find one, it's just like if you find one and it really is captivating, it seems to be a rarity. Um, but then, music, I mean, gosh, I love I love when on them long rides to go back and listen to the greats, like just take I mean, I got my playlist, of songs that I just really love, but when I'm on those long rides, sometimes I'll just be like just pull up some kind of, you know, 80s John Prine record and just listen to the front and the back of it and just try to take it all in, stuff that I missed, stuff that I wasn't alive when it came out, and I've discovered some real gems that way. But I like to stop at parks, national parks, state parks, walk. I like to go out in nature and stuff. That's really what I do when I'm by myself. When I'm with a band, we just cut up, try to stay out of jail.
I hear that. Oh,
Yeah.
well, man, I don't know if I've talked to you since you got over there back to the UK. What was it like getting back? It was a lot of fun watching the food reviews. What
Oh
what,
yeah.
what was some of the experiences you had there? Any funny tales come out of that?
Oh man. Yeah, the whole thing was it was great. There was not a single dud. There was not a dud of a show ever. Like the whole European run, every show was at least good. And some were excellent, but every show was at least good. Um I think I think we had the biggest crowds I ever had in the Netherlands. Uh which I was really kind of concerned about because you don't go to a place for 4 years and you're worried that they maybe have forgot you or whatever. Because I had not been over there since 2019, and because of the pandemic and things, it just didn't work for me to go back. And then I came back, and man, it was amazing. It was so good to see that see all the folks, a lot that I've still remember from the other tours. Some of my more avid fans, they came out, man, and it was great. uh Went to Germany for my first time, to Berlin. It was yeah, I went with the David Ford, one of the world's greatest living songwriters in my opinion, and an absolutely brilliant man who could have been a stand-up comic had he wanted to be. And
Oh man,
so, yeah, traveling with him is I laughed until some days I laughed until my face hurt. I laughed till I felt physically sick in some of those days. Yeah.
That's pretty wild, man. Someone said something pretty remarkable to me. I think I was interviewing Mary Ryan Brown. She's a comedian down in Hattiesburg, and she's been picking up quite a bit of steam. And I told her I don't know if this is true. Like, check me out on this. I was like, "You're a comedian. If you could be in any other profession, what would you be in?" She's like, "I'd be a songwriter." And I was like, "I think every songwriter would secretly wants to be a comedian." So
I
it's kind of funny, like
I
how the
don't
two
know,
swap.
yeah. I don't know, man. The comedian thing, I don't know that I could do it, but well, because I don't always like that. I don't always like to just, I mean, I do like to tell some jokes, and I do like to cut up and laugh. I think as a songwriter, there's more of a range
Sure.
to you know what I'm saying, of the things to explore. If you get up at a comedy club and start singing a song about your dead grandfather, eh,
Yes.
yeah. But I can sing a song like White Trash Lipstick and then sing a song about my dead grandfather.
Hmm.
The very next song as a
Yeah,
songwriter in it.
that is one thing. Like a show of yours is a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I like. I mean, that's life, or at
Hmm.
least my life. And yeah, but no, I mean, I have great anybody that can weave together a story, and that's I've got nothing but respect for, man.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I had one in the can for you. Oh, there was a cat coming to the Blue Canoe, and trying to pull it up now. Let me just bear with me. Uh, I think it's going to be one of these rarities, and I think we're going to be hearing a whole lot about this young man in the near future. And you may already be aware of him. Uh, it's a guy by the name of Matthew Curry.
Matthew Curry. Now,
Hmm.
who is this?
He's coming to the Blue Canoe this Friday, and
Oh,
he's coming with his band, and it's uh, Steve Miller, Pat Simmons, and Peter Frampton are all praising the guy's guitar work. And
holy cow.
I'm gonna go when I get off work Friday. I'm going straight to the Blue Canoe. I want to go see it for myself. You know, you've been to the Blue Canoe, have you?
Yeah, I played there one time, several years ago, and the guy there is named Adam Morgan, and
That's right.
he commissioned a painting of mine. I don't know if it's still on the walls of that place. Check out the walls and let me know. He commissioned a big painting of Blue Mountain, Carrie Hudson's
Carrie
band.
Hudson. I've recently had Carrie on the show.
Yeah, okay. Well, I painted that band for the walls of the Blue Canoe, and I don't know
Yeah,
if it's still there or not, but
yeah, Blue Mountain.
should be.
I recently learned this. I had no like the Blue Canoe is named the Blue Canoe because of a lyric from Blue Mountain,
That's right.
and
And
I had no
I
idea.
paint. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And I mean, Carrie, I mean, they were an Oxford band, and this back in late '80s, early '90s, and I mean they were frequent in Athens, Georgia during the time of REM and when the Grateful Dead were getting going, and it was fascinating hearing some of those stories. And I mean, I wasn't there for that, and he was like, you know, in those days, it was 18 years old and you could buy a beer, and he was like, there was a totally different scene then, and I could only imagine, especially being in a college town,
Yeah.
had to be had to be a pretty
Carrie's a cool dude, man. I'm I have much respect for him. I think a lot of him. Me and him's done some shows in the past.
Oh,
Good,
my
great guy.
first time meeting him, they did a singer-songwriter night at the new it's a singer-songwriter venue. It's called the Mockingbird. It's right across the street from Southern Prohibition. And it was Carrie, Drew Young, and Tyler Tisdale, and you could hear a pin drop. They went, told a story, share a song, and when it was Carrie's turn, like there was almost a reverence in that room to where you could hear a pin drop, and
Yeah,
people were hanging on every word he had to say, and
yeah,
I wasn't that familiar with Blue Mountain or Carrie, and as the night progressed, I was like, I've, I, s- I totally get it. It's and I've heard you say this. I was like, th- this is one of those nights to where it's going to be a rarity to be in a room this small with someone this talented. You know.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, Kerry, he's lived it, buddy. He's lived it. He's kind of like, I got respect for people that live their art and have lived it for a long time. You know what I mean? And he made it his life.
Hmm.
You know, it's it wasn't a hobby. You know, it's his life, and yeah, guys like that got stories for days, dude.
Oh, I'm telling you, and I asked him like hindsight when I was doing the production on the podcast. I asked him a little bit about. Um, I mean, he sold so many records that night after the show, and I was like, man, that particular record is 25, 30 years old now. How's it feel that it it's still moving off the shelf? And he was like, it means I don't have to get a real job.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, you got me there, buddy.
yeah, yeah, man. He's a great guy.
Oh, so art exhibition and playing some shows out in California. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm still in the Alabama astronaut, still getting the prints, still enjoying uh being a member of what's the art been like lately for you as far as your creative process for your visual art? Where's that inspiration coming from lately?
Well, I've got lots of stuff I want to paint. I just don't have the time to do it. I've been uh it's in the 30s how many days I've been home since January that I've slept in my own bed. And I've just been I've been doing, when the record it was, this was the album release, anticipation, and in May it came out, and then I just been touring heavy behind it. And that has been the way that you know, that's been the way I tried to plan out this this year. So as a result, like I haven't made much. I mean, I've made some paintings this year, but not near as much as I have in the past or through the pandemic. It just I want to do it, and I have done it. You know, but it's been really tough to to do. I have more that I want to do than I have time to do. So every day is every single day though, no matter what day it is, I'm either making something or showing somebody something that I done made. So and I've been really focusing on showing people stuff that I've already made this year, that being the record and playing shows. And but I have been working on a lot of things. I mean, I'm still working. I'm painting. I just made a painting today. Uh, I made I finished out a painting today, and I'm working on the Alabama Astronaut podcast season 2. There's also something that's hasn't been announced yet, but there's something going to come out on that really soon, probably in a couple of months. On the Alabama Astronaut podcast front. Um, And then we're working on a documentary right now about my grandfather's canteen that he carried through World War II, and I carried back with me to Europe, and wrote a song about it. And we recorded all of sang it in every venue across Europe that I played. And
What was the response like?
their what's that?
What was that response when you shared that
Oh, it was
story?
amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. We're current. My cousin is we actually were filming on that Saturday. We finished. We got just a little bit more filming to do, and hopefully within the next few months we'll have a documentary to put out. Or we might not put it out right away. We might put it in a film festival or something. I don't know what we're going to do with it, but um, I just had the book come out. Uh, yeah, man, I just got so much, I just got
You
like
got a lot of
all these
irons in the
irons.
fire, man.
Yeah. And so like tomorrow I'm going to California and I'm playing some shows, but then I'm coming back Monday, and then I have Tuesday at my house before I leave Wednesday to start playing shows again. So that Tuesday, I'm going to be probably painting and then go play my shows. And since I'm going to be in a hotel at a songwriter because that weekend I'm going to be playing at the Panama City Songwriters Festival, I'll be in a hotel for 3 nights. I'll probably take some paints out there with me and be painting in the hotel room, because it's what I love to do, man. I love to make stuff, you
Yeah,
know.
I've been recently getting into working with resin and doing different things with it, and I haven't found any
What you
success
working
yet
with what, Alan?
with resin.
Oh, okay. The stuff that you
Clear,
mix.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so
okay.
I took the inlays of the Porch Talk vinyl. Got a Groove sent me like over 1,000 of those little the circles,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. The
so
the labels.
yeah, the labels. And so my thought was, man, these things are just gathering dust. I'm gonna go get some resin, and I'm gonna start making some coasters. And people can have those and a little memorabilia
Yeah,
from the project. You get a little Abe Partridge art sitting on your coffee table, and you can rest your drink
heck
on it.
yeah.
And man, like pursuing like a new creative endeavor. I mean, that really has it's opened up something more than music I feel ever could. And it's another great outlet. It's frustrating, but it's a lot of fun and in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Creating things and when the moment that they're done, it's a it's like a release. And it's a very satisfying release. And I'm kind of addicted to it.
Yeah. Hey, when it comes to your art and being an artist, whether it be songwriting or visual, is there was a quote I wanted to run by you and see what you thought of it. It says that an artist is in need of a constant tragedy for inspiration.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's definitely where a lot of art is born. There's no doubt about that. Uh, the best art I ever made, the best art that I ever made come out of tragedy or agony. I mean, that was the reason I named my live record "Agony Is All Right,"
Hmm.
and the whole meaning behind that is that art or song, and in that record's case it was a lot of those songs was born out of agony, which which you know as time goes on it makes it okay. So I don't know, the thing that makes me hesitate to agree with that is that I don't want no more of
Right.
it.
And I mean, just sitting here in Mississippi where I'm at, man, and I think about the blues and like I've been sharing these stories of these old blues cats and trying to capture as much
Yeah,
as I can before they pass on. And uh,
yeah.
it where was that stuff born from? Why they even call it the blues? you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
something to it, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's the human spirit, man. It's the human
Yeah.
spirit rising out of terrible circumstances and grief and heartache and disappointment and mistreatment and all of those things. And it's the human spirit trying to make beauty where there ain't none. And that's where a lot of the that's where a lot of great art comes from, man. And I mean, gosh, I've mined my past experiences for numerous things. I mean, gosh, that my life, the tragedy that I've experienced in my life, I go back to time and time again to try to find a message in it, try to find a meaning in it that's worth talking about or worth painting or whatever. So yeah. I mean, I guess so. I've had all the tragedy I reckon I need.
Yeah, I mean, and also, man, I think about I mean, it can be fun as well. Never stare a rooster in the eyes, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, uh, some shit is just whimsical for the hell of being whimsical. You know.
Oh man, the comic. A couple of buddies of mine ordered one of your comics, and they just rave about it. So
Oh,
wanted
cool.
wanted to plug that for you. They was like, man, I'm gonna have to bring it up here and show it to you. I was like, well, I probably need to just get my own copy of it, but yeah, I mean, show it to me. Yeah, but
Yeah, my buddy Russ Ferris, who's a Mississippian, he's from somewhere outside Hattiesburg.
oh,
He's the one who did the art in the comic book. Uh, I commissioned him to do it, and use lyrics to my song as the words in the comic. And then we put a flexi disc record inside of it that plays an alternate version of the song than is on the album. And that version of the song only exists on flexi discs.
that's fun.
So yeah, yeah, it's funny. But
What
he's actually making another one right now on the 403rd Freakout. He's converting that into a comic book, and then we're gonna put out a 7-inch record with that one that has alternate versions of the song. So it's
a lot
just,
of a lot of
it's
irons.
just, yeah, I forgot about that one. I didn't even mention that whenever I mentioned everything else I was working on because it slipped my mind. But yeah, that's in the works as well.
Yeah. Well, brother, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Abe. I really appreciate it. I was going to ask you three more questions, and we'll walk it out of the door.
Go ahead, buddy.
Is and you can take this any way you want to take it. Is man, tell me a little bit about fatherhood and what it's meant to you.
Fatherhood. Yeah, it's everything to me. Those three children mean more to me than anything in this world. And and the type of work that I do has its ups and downs. The down of what I will tell you, the biggest downside of the lifestyle that I live is time away from my kids. But um, when I worked a full time job, uh, I was out of my house for 50 hours a week, and then I'd get home on the evenings and I'd be beat and I couldn't hardly even spend much time with them anyway. I'd see them for about an hour and a half or something in the nights and they'd go to sleep. And then on weekends, we'd run them around to baseball practice and this thing and this rehearsal and this thing. And what I'm saying is when I was working a job, I got to see my kids every day, but it wasn't quality time. And now when I'm home, I get to really be home, get fix them breakfast and pick them up from the bus, uh, and plus, I'd rather my kids watch me pursue my passion in life than watch me sell my soul for a paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
And I think over time, you know,
go ahead. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but over time, I believe that'll be more beneficial to them than, in 20 years, I believe it will have been more important for them to see that their father had the courage to pursue his passions in spite of all the risk associated with it, as opposed to simply putting in a 9 to 5. And I'm not hating on people that do that. Like some people are in positions where they have to. Some people love that lifestyle.
Hmm.
For me, it's not my lifestyle. That's not my passion. That's not where my heart lies. And I did that life until I did that I had a job from the age of 14 to the age of 38. And I never had a job that I liked ever. And I probably had 2 dozen in that time period, and I never had a job I liked. So I think in 20 years, it will be more beneficial for my kids to have seen me do what I do, even though, I'm gone a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like when it comes to success, I, especially with a passion or pursuit, like it's incredibly important. Like, man, just since I've known you, we become friends, and just on the sideline rooting for you, and every W you get, I was that it means a lot for me, and I mean, what does it mean for like looking at the Red Clay Strays and they got a stinking tour bus now, and it's like, hey, man, like
Yeah,
people we know are doing really cool things, they're making it
yeah,
happen,
yeah.
and but
Well,
it kind of
I'm so proud of them boys, man.
yeah.
So proud. They deserve it.
Yeah. Question two of man plug the best way to get in touch with becoming an Alabama astronaut, and where are you lively on the social medias for those listening or watching?
Oh yeah, mostly Instagram and Facebook. I think my wife has got me on Twitter and or X or whatever. I never get on that shit. I hate it. Another one that my wife's got me on is called TikTok. I don't get on that either because I hate it. But I'm an old man, so I guess I don't think that stuff was made for old men. But I'm still on the Facebook and Instagram, and the Alabama Astronaut Art Club is open for 5 members right now. I think we have 95, and we cap it at 100, and it's $29 a month. The price hasn't gone up since the first day. We used to send out monthly packages. Now we send out we
Bi-monthly.
send we send them out bi-monthly, but you still get
Yeah.
two. So it's the same price. It's just that shipping rates went up so much since we started this thing that we had to figure out a way to reduce shipping costs without raising. I didn't want to raise the price. So so we kept it at $29 a month, but now we have to send out packages every 2 months. So you get two of the packages every 2 months, but they come in one box with one shipping label. And I paint a painting for the members of the art club every month, and we write a letter, and then there's the exclusive group on Facebook that you can come a part of where when I paint new paintings, which hasn't been often this year, they go up for sale first to members of the art club,
Yeah. First
and
dibs.
first dibs on the new art, which is not something that we've had a lot of this year, but I mean, I've probably had at least 40 paintings or so that I made this year. And, and yeah, so we're open. we're open for five more members right now. And I mean, my God, Alan, you've been thank you for being in as long as you have. Those are the people that um make my life. They take so much of the stress out of being a full-time artist uh with a family of five. I mean, it's
Yep.
because I know with my art club, like we have a house to live in. You know, that pretty much pays my rent every month. And it pays the our car payment and, you know, makes some of the basic payments every month that makes touring, you know, it makes it so much less stressful, you know, because touring, I did touring before I had the art club. And you know, you eat the dollar cheeseburger from McDonald's and you sleep in your car. Well, you do that for like 3 or 4 days in a row and it catches up with you. But you feel like you have to do it because, you know, before I had the art club, when I was out on the road, every dollar I made, that's dollars that, you know, I needed to bring home. And now it's made it, you know, the art club, it makes it easier to where, hey, maybe we shouldn't eat the grease bombs, you know. May, it'll be okay to get a hotel tonight, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. We can spend some of this money, get a hotel tonight, and actually get some sleep. And yeah, there ain't nothing more miserable than like day three of a tour with a bunch of fast food and then sleep hard. And it gets really anyway, I'm talking too much, but yeah, the art club is, man, I mean, those 95 people, uh those 95 people mean to me more than like, I mean they it what it means to me as an artist, it just takes such a heavy burden off my back, you know. And I love to be able to like, it's you don't know how good it is to be able to be like, hey, I'm gonna paint something this month for my people, and it's art, like it's already sold, you know.
Hmm.
like like whatever I dream up to paint, it's like there, it's already, you don't have to worry about like, oh, I gotta paint something, I gotta take it. No, it's like I'm gonna paint it and my people are gonna get it, and they're, you know, and it's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
It never hits the public. It, it
Yeah, yeah.
it's so funny being in that private Facebook group, like the post to go out, and then it's like an hour or two later, sold. And I was like, I didn't even had time to log in and look.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those,
Good
I'm
stuff.
telling you, buddy. I'm telling you, man. It's. I just, you know, I never, I just never want to forget. I just never want to neglect to say just how grateful I am, you know, to have, because there's there's a lot of people that make art, you know, and I don't, you know, I don't really like. I never really thought about. I only made art for myself for so long. Like I was painting for about a decade before I ever had my first show, and then like in my head, it just never made sense for me to. I never in a million years thought that anybody would like buy my art. Like that never occurred to me. But then after I started doing music and I started doing it, it is an experience like no other to be able to make art and then and then for it to like resonate in somebody else's soul. Like, and it don't even, sometimes it ain't even the way that it speaks to me. Like I've painted stuff before that meant something very specific to me. And then somebody else sees it and they take a different, completely different, have a completely different contextualization of all the stuff going on in the
Hmm.
painting, and it means something to, and I don't dare try to correct them because it like, you see like art speak to somebody and it's like, well, you know, it's just a really beautiful thing, man. And anyway, yeah, those I never want that. Just like for me to be able to say there's 95 people who participate in this thing with me every month, who my art resonates with. Um, it fills my heart with such gratitude that it's. I mean, it's beyond verbalization. I can't tell you how grateful I
Right on, man. Well, last question to walk it out the door. What was your favorite part of this conversation?
am. Alan, I love you, buddy.
Love you too, man.
You're a good feller, man. I've liked you ever since the first time I ever met you. And me and you could talk about Hot Wheels, corn dogs, mu or music, or the Atlanta Braves, and I'm sure me and you'd have a good conversation, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got for you, Abe. Thank you so much for your time. Be safe on your travels, man, and I'll see you again soon.
All right, Alan. It's good talking to you, bud.